Hello and welcome to the next 100 Days podcast. My name is Graham Arrowsmith.
And my name's Kevin Appleby. I nearly forgot to say that there.
We're not doing this again, Kevin.
Now it's a good start to our podcast.
Yeah.
We've got a guest today, all the way from Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, his name's Chip Higgins. And so, Chip, welcome to the next 100 Days podcast.
Thank you for having me on. It's very exciting.
Well, you behind you have one of your books, and it features on your website, and it's called the Bizzics Way. Now, that's kind of a little bit different from most people. What on earth is a Bizzic?
In fact,
it's the physics law of momentum applied to business.
Oh, I'm with you now. But okay.
So I was when I was starting my my practice, I was reading a lot about brand names, and I think it was Sarah Blakely or somebody was on, and they said, the perfect brand name is no longer than 7 letters, and it usually has a double letter, and if you can make it buzz, that's really good. So after a lot of distillation, I was just like, well, this is the physics of business, so let's go with Bizzics.
Which is a good brand name, because what's it done so far? It's started a conversation.
Right, that's right.
Conversation.
I mean, the thing is, the Bizzics Way is quite an interesting title because it's a bit like, well, so there's a way then, is there? So there's a way would indicate a route. So basically you've written a book there that basically helps you, I guess, get and maintain momentum in your business. So was that your sort of starting point, Chip? Is that the thing that you?
It was, yeah. I worked in the banking industry for 40 years and mostly with closely held businesses. And, I think between that and just the general literature and business, I'd hear this word momentum come up a lot. I think it's very desirable for most people.
Yeah.
And in the background, I had this physics teacher in high school, Sister Rita, that was kind of a force of nature. And I was never very good at physics, but I had to remember something because I was in fear the whole time I was in her class, and so conceptually, I got what physics was, momentum was, and I reached a point it really just started bothering me, and I was just like, if momentum is a real thing in business, it's solid gold. It's like if we're talking about it, we ought to be able to follow it. It's not a buzzword, and so I finally reached out to a good friend of mine who's a legitimate physicist. He's Caltech trained physicist. And we had I met him he was at Vanderbilt in their physics department. And he agreed to speak to me for a few hours. And, it turned out to be even more revealing than I thought it would be, and it's such a simple equation of mass times velocity that it's easy to remember. And that's the Bizzics way, is just following that equation. And, I found it so far to be very understandable for most people. And when you start thinking about it, we see momentum all the time. I think that's one of the beauties of it, is that like we know when it's there and when it's not. But if you can understand what actually underlies it, you have a good chance of keeping it. So.
Okay, so mass times velocity. What are mass and velocity when you bring those into a business world?
Well, the first thing we have to consider is velocity is not possible without energy. So there's a chapter in the book about energy and how we create energy in a vibrational field. It's a bouncing back and forth between where we are and what this vision is that we have of helping people. And sometimes, when there's a lot of people to help and you have a great idea, you just can't stop thinking about it. And that's the entrepreneurial energy that moves you forward. But you also have to worry about distributing that energy to other people, and which is really a cultural question. And, you can't have enough energy. At the end of the conversation around energy, my friend Marcus was telling me about this the speed equation is one I can't even comprehend, but he distilled it down to the fact that speed and energy have a direct relationship, but it's a squared relationship. So if you want to go twice as fast, you need 4 times the energy. If you want to go 3 times as fast, you need 9 times the energy. And so that's a really foundational thing about where all the energy is coming from. I just find that if you are only about making money or having a job, kind of the Michael Gerber E-Myth mindset, I don't think it's going to last for very long. I just don't know that there's that much passion around that. But when you see people, literally what you're doing is changing people's lives and improving their style of living or the ease with which they do things, you can get really excited about it and excite other people about it. So that's the first part. But the velocity part of it is about for velocity to work, you have to have a distance, a direction, and a time frame. It's a vector. And what I found among a lot of small business owners, probably less than 5 years in business, in the fight to survive, the only consideration was more. It wasn't necessarily that there was originally a target market that my service uniquely suited, and I wanted a certain share in that. And that idea of consistently moving toward a target segment that you want a proportion of for yourself is the first dominating principle in velocity, that you're moving toward it. But that vector is complicated. Business is complicated, and it can't just be one thing. Market share. You've got to consider client satisfaction and how much of that you can afford, and ultimately the profitability of the company. So it seems very simple, but it's like you're moving along a course that's satisfying 3 different things at one time. And the genius involved in figuring all that out is like really, really a powerful thing. And of course, we have our own course. It's like any vector, anything moving along a course. I would say the business environment is as treacherous as any. And there's all kinds of net force out there. There's economic things, there's political things, there's societal trends that are ever changing while you're, it's like being the captain of an airplane and going through thunderclouds. It's like you're constantly guiding yourself around that. So, and there's this whole issue of speed, of how fast you can grow with the resources you have. So that would be the velocity part of it. And take the mass. The mass is my favorite one. In the book, I don't know if you guys are Monty Python fans, but there's that scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail where he gets to the Oracle and he has to answer all the questions. They're all paradoxical spoof questions. But the question I put in the book is, how can a small business be massive? And the reality of mass is that it has very little to do with size, and it's really about the weight, the density of what you're offering. And you get into things like your value proposition. Is it a Me Too? You think the market's so big, there's plenty of room for people to play in the market, or have you really figured out something that's new and different and sustainable? I think that's a big part of it, but a lot of it has to do with people. And I say this in the book. I had an unfortunate experience early in my career where there was a job I really wanted, and the hiring man, I didn't get it. The hiring manager back channel basically shared that he was looking for a heavyweight, and he didn't see me as a heavyweight. And that has a lot to do with success in business. What kind of experience do we have at what we're attempting to do? What kind of leadership qualities do we have that we can actually lead an enterprise? And just who we are as people. What's the value system? I think that's an extremely important thing. And I've seen many different approaches to vision, values, mission. And I get disappointed when someone turns the name of the company into an acrostic that's supposed to represent their values. I view values as really, the Covey world, the timeless principles of like integrity and, courage or honesty or whatever it is, and I think there's just in smaller businesses, it's a scramble. And, the thoughtfulness about developing yourself so that you can attract the best of the best. I think that is a big part of what will make a small business massive. But, there's this other principle about connection. And 98% of the mass of anything in the physical world is at the nucleus. So, all the things that I've described, your value, vision, mission, value proposition, I mean, all those things yourself, you're right at the center of the business. But there's also an important part of bonding. And, if you think about carbon, pencil, lead, and diamonds are basically the same material. But, the bonds in diamonds are just ridiculously stronger than pencil lead. And, then we get into cultural things about, number one, are people, I enjoyed studying your first 100 days and thinking about how important that is in the book, the whole onboarding process of how you get people like personally bonded to the vision and mission that you have and the values in the company, that bonding, and then the bonding among people. I mean, that's what makes you a heavyweight. That's the mass equation, and you have to work on it all the time. And as you develop as a leader, you find that the better you become as a leader, the better people you can hire. And you're fooling yourself if you're a weak leader that you think you're going to hire the heavyweight talent in. They're not going to follow you. So that's a good overview, I think, of the mass and velocity. The book talks a lot about inertia as a leadership thing. That we will continue to move along a path until we're steered off of it by another force. But the idea of leadership in a business is anticipating what those forces are and guiding yourself to a different way. So there's a lot of good stuff in there about that.
You've obviously written quite a thoughtful book that, there's something about you that takes on a former weakness of not being 100% on physics, yet you base your whole philosophy on physics. So there's something about you that says, I'm taking on this challenge. I meet a friend who basically kind of explains it in a Janet and John way, simple way,
Mhm.
and you get it, and then your mind naturally takes it off into the things that you do well,
Right.
and basically then comes this book. So I'm getting the academic side of this, just um Kevin's the clever one. I'm just here for just to look pretty, I mean, if I had long hair, then this show would have far more listeners and watchers. Thing is, you have to apply that in a real sense to make some money, don't you, with clients? So there's only so much that they want to, take in on that. So is it almost like there are on ramps on into this? If I look at your book's cover, it looks a bit like, one of those things where you go round and round and you're going up to the higher levels to get your car parked.
It was supposed to be going down.
Oh, you
That's
got,
what.
you got. Oh, right. Well, eventually you do once you've done your shopping. But the whole idea, what I'm trying to get to is that how do you apply that in a coaching sense to businesses who are going to pay you money? They'll get it once you've explained it.
Right.
But truth is, it's quite strategic, isn't it? It's a strategic overview as
Oh, it's
to.
very, I think what came out of it is, for me, just in the process, is connecting all the dots to so many business practices and ideas that are embedded in the equation. And uh, what I was intentional about in the book, I found over the 40 years that I've spent with business owners, small business owners, is um, coaching is a little bit out of reach for a lot of them financially. Most coaches charge pretty decent amount per hour. Um, but I found intentional people to be able to apply things very easily. I have a good friend that I recommended the 4 disciplines of execution, which is in the friction chapter of the book. And he's able to do that himself
Yeah.
because he really needed to do it. And so in the book, there's a space at the end of every chapter that says to the lab. There's a QR code. That QR code takes you to a place on my website where there's probably 25 planning tools that they're not rocket science. And in our experience, I think all of us have seen a SWOT analysis. We've probably seen a competitive advantage kind of analysis. But what the book does is tell you suddenly why that's important. And, and I don't know in the UK if you have SCORE, but is it, what's it called? Core of retired executives. And, they're supposed to help small business owners.
Mm.
And I just find that there's a lot of times people seeking help will get a dump of a 4-inch 3-ring binder of stuff that they're supposed to work through, but there's no context for it.
Yeah.
And the context plus the tools makes it work, because you suddenly understand, like, I can't be a massive business without like beating my head against the wall about what's different about my company, what my strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are. I've got to do that if I'm going to have that kind of mass. I've got to be really thorough about that. And the competitive, we have a sense of who we compete with. You ever put it all on one piece of paper and have a map and figure out, like, all of a sudden it's like we look just like they do. And like, what's different about us is like we're open for an extra 30 minutes or whatever it is. There's very weak differentiation characteristics. So I think
and if that's one of the issues that where I'm struggling with here, Chip, and it's because, well, sadly, I took an MBA as well. So basically, it means that I'm a bit slow. So I'm trying to mash that strategic thing into something that's really deliverable. So you've got this book, and people can get through it, and then they can almost appreciate the context of any part of that journey towards success in some way. They then go through this sort of back door into your website, and presumably for funds, they basically can get access to more materials that will help them. Now, in a way, this is the way in which you are pivoting your help into their lives. So if it comes to the competitive analysis, do they get to that part? I'm trying to think of, where do they get to you? Do they read the book entirely and then?
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. Yeah.
No, well, I was getting to it. It's just I'm trying to work it through in my mind, because it's not like a direct question. Yeah. I mean, effective.
No, I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
This has been the problem, Graham, of bringing this to the small business market, is the scalability of it.
Yeah.
How do you make coaching scalable? I would be glad to coach anybody on the standard coaching terms and conditions, but it's not my passion to help 10 people a month. There's 30 million small businesses in the U.S. When I started in banking, 50% would fail in 5 years, and it's still 50% in 5 years. So through all the resources we have, somehow they've been neglected for the interaction that they need. So I think the most exciting thing that's happened for me, and I think I sent this over to you, is I published through Forbes. It was a great experience working with the Forbes people. And I kept grinding and grinding about the scalability. And finally, I discovered a platform that it's an AI assisted platform that allows people to engage with the book in real time. So I'm calling it Bizzics on Demand. So in that, they've ingested my book. It has my thought patterns. It has my language. It's basically like everything that you could want in talking to me, coupled with all the resources. And all that a small business owner has to do is open up a session and say, I'm thinking about starting a business, or I'm having a sales problem. It's the most remarkable. I mean, I was not expecting it. It's kind of like, go down the path and the path will be revealed to you. I am not the most AI friendly person either. Like this is all new things to me, but I started testing it with friends, and I have a good friend who trains. He does sales training for the banking industry. He's done it for 40 years, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll give it a whirl." And so he went in, and he was with the agent for an hour, and he published a blog on it, and he said this was a completely human interaction with curiosity, with questions, clarifications, and by the end, I just felt like I've just had an expert, an experience with complete expert. And
Well,
I've tested it in ways that goes in many directions. You know, I mean, I've asked the agent about simple things like planning a strategic offsite for my company,
yeah.
and pulls in things from the book. We provide an industry analysis for people if they want that. It's 30 pages. They pull it in, they provide it to the agent, and suddenly you're in a conversation with somebody on demand 24/7 whenever you want. And that's
You're
kind of a
referring to an
fulfillment.
agent there, Chip. Are you talking about an AI agent? You're talking
Yes.
about right. Okay. So the you've effectively taken your book and then built an agent on the back of it.
So
So
I've completely scaled coaching at that point.
okay,
The agent
which
is
is
trained.
yeah.
The agent is trained in every ICF coaching pillar.
Wow.
So it's not trained to tell people what to do, but ask exploratory questions and ask what we can work on next.
But-
So it ends up being a very rich experience. That
Oh, I know it. I part of my working career, I provide AI agents to people, and in
Yeah,
particular for publishers, and very much like you. So basically,
yeah,
the whole the simplicity of it is that you can create a library, you can create experts, and the experts will and apps as well built into this thing. We would call it an agent delivery system,
right,
and effectively that then, and you can talk to it, and it talks back.
right,
So
right.
basically, and maybe in your voice if you wanted it that way. I mean, if you don't
That's
mind.
what this does
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's not on the open AI platform.
Okay.
It's a closed AI that has its
Right.
main point of reference is 200 pages of my book.
No, no, that's entirely the right thing. I mean, the
Yeah.
way that we would do it at our end is that we would actually create. Sorry, I don't mean to, this like a
Well,
sales
it's
pitch.
great that you're in
Basically,
this business. I
well,
mean,
no, no,
I think
it's just that I love what you've done. I think it's fantastic that, and you're definitely ahead of the curve. But the thing that we do is we stick it on a website. So
yeah,
and in that case, or and so then your individual small business, and it wouldn't, frankly, it's not going to cost them a hill of beans, but the fact is they would have access to your expert on their site. And
correct.
that and so you're so then when what I like about you and your methodology was something that really stimulated me a few minutes ago when you said that you don't really want to help the 10 who can afford you. You want to help the many who can't. So if the many, there's always a price point for most things. And
Mhm.
if you're talking about giving it away for free, then, you might as well go and, sign up to the Labour Party in this country. But they're wrecking the place. But the thing about it is that if there's a fairly low price point, which most businesses would appreciate, and see that almost like as a cost of just doing business, but they have this brilliant source of information that they can test and
Yeah,
come up with theories and so forth, and actually then produce the sort of work, like you talked about, a value proposition, create a value proposition for us, create an ideal customer profile, get all those types of things. Boy, and if you're hanging it together in this Bizzics way, wow. I mean, that's a very, very powerful. Not really come across anybody like you like this so far.
oh, thank you.
No, honestly,
Just like my book cover, you never seen that
well,
before.
no, no, I've seen one of those circular things that goes up in car parks. I mean, it's not, but I know what you mean. But it looks like a coil of some sort. So yeah, but yeah, I genuinely am very impressed with the sort of strategy. Oh, you've got the book
Now,
now.
see if we can get a closer look. You see,
Yeah.
there's
Oh, I
Right.
a
get.
ball, a
Yes,
ball.
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah,
oh, it's like one of those toys where the
yeah,
ball
and
rolls
it's
down.
textured too. You can feel it.
Yeah,
Oh,
grandsons love that sort of stuff.
yeah. Well, yeah, because yeah, it's like one of those old. You've got this dates us, of course, but you'd have those sorts of toys that where
Yeah,
the ball rolls around, and we were all fascinated by it.
yeah,
Kids
yeah,
today think, "What the hell's that?" Why would I want to be interested in that?
yeah.
But I do
No, but
love it.
I
I'm very
know some
excited about
5-year-old
this, Graham.
grandsons that are still fascinated with that
Oh,
stuff.
well, that's good. That is good.
It's
For someone with
it's a
your
real
experience in
life
doing what
toy.
you do, for you to think there's value in this, I mean, it's
Oh,
it's worth
You,
the hour just to be affirmed about that. And
no, no,
on the
no,
pricing side, I have a
yeah.
price set at $24.99 a month. I'm discounting that in this kind of open period by 40%. So $14.99 a month, basically, for complete access 24/7 to a good book. And there's a lot of other thoughts in there. I mean, all the tools are available. It recommends the tool, and I just think it's an incredible value. And be glad to give you and Kevin free lifetime access if you
Oh,
like. I
well,
mean, I'll put you on my VIP list.
Oh,
well,
that's an offer we can't refuse, Chip.
uh,
But
no,
it's labor part. I don't know. I need to charge you a penny or something, so it's
yeah,
not
well,
the labor part.
of course. And but I genuinely, it's not. I don't want to get into politics, but the truth is, it's. I think you're genuinely trying to help people because there's this work, this body of work out there, and it's you've grabbed more than the stuff that you've had into your mind. And the only reason I made the comment about the MBA is that basically it was a brilliant period of my life, absolutely brilliant period. I loved every minute of it. But then a bit later, started my own business, and you realised, yeah, okay, some of this stuff is interesting, but the truth is, it's a different game.
Yeah,
It's a small business for a start. At the time, I don't know if you had the same experience, but at the time I was doing my MBA, I was realizing that because I did it part time, I went go back to the working environment, and I find, yeah, I'd be firing somebody the following day, but we're talking about HR as a lesson, sort of. So, oh yeah, well, I got some real experience there.
yeah.
But no, it was a kind of it was an incredible learning experience. Anybody listen to this and you're thinking you're on the fence on the MBA, go and do it. But have set the kind of expectations in terms of how it's going to be. If you're going to be the kind of corporate person, fine. It's not going to hinder you. But if you have ambitions to be your own boss, then I think you have to go wider because I don't think the MBA in and of itself will help you fix everything you need to fix it.
Well, I think what I've learned in doing this is one thing that is present to me almost every single day is um, the wide variety of choices to make on any topic, anything that I'm working on. And it's like you have to get comfortable with testing things and it not working, and what that means to timelines,
Yeah.
what it means to funding and all of it. And like you have this deep-seated need to be right the first time every time because it
Oh,
just feels so inconvenient to not be right about it.
yeah. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I know. I mean, it kind of goes back to the book. I mean, this is my passion. I mean, I watch people be very successful in banking, but honestly, the people that didn't make it still haunt me. People that lost their homes, people that lost relationships. Even a couple of suicides that I had during financial things. It's just like if you can make things simple enough and accessible enough to impact that ratio of 50%, like that's kind of my guiding late life. And the time I have left, I mean, I'd love to move the needle on that. So,
Well, I'm sure somebody up there is going to look after you for a bit because I think it's a good idea. At
Chip, what happened to get you into this business in the first place? You talking about a career in banking. What happened to get you to?
funny, in banking, most people you talk to fell into it by accident. It's just kind of an accidental career for a lot of people. But I grew up in a surprisingly strong banking town in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is where RJR was headquartered, Haynes Knitwear. It's a very small town of 250,000 people, but had a lot going on. And one of the biggest things that had going on was that at that time, North Carolina was, I think, the only, if not the only, maybe one of two or three states that had statewide branching laws in banking.
Mhm.
So Wachovia Bank, whose name you might remember, I mean, they no longer exist like so many banks. They were the big player in town, and you had First Union Bank in Charlotte and NCNB, which became Bank of America in Charlotte. So it was a strong banking environment, and I knew so many, I had so many friends whose parents were in banking, and they were all great people. They're all very community oriented. I mean, I enjoyed the financial part of it, but honestly, I think the the relationships and watching the organic part of a community and the role that banking played in it. That's what drew me to it. And, it's very fortunate. I mean, I got hired into a training program a week before it started. Like I got so lucky to get started on that path. Like after I got out of college, I was trying so hard to get it. And honestly, I've met the most interesting people and made so many great relationships. And it's everything I wanted, other than the fact that the industry has shrunk by 75%. I think there were 14,000 plus banks in America when I started. We're down to about 4,000 now. So that's been difficult, but that's also an impetus for the book, and that as you rationalize a merger and you pull resources out of certain places, whether it's very small communities or business lines like small business, when you got corporate investment banking and stuff to do, I just find that the resourcing problem for small businesses intensified over the years. And I guess this is my way of leaving something that's durable.
If you had to name, you don't have to give them a specific name, because if you had to name a competitor of yours, are you competing against the 4,000 banks that are still kicking about America, who might be providing service to small businesses? A bit like the big banks over here in the UK. We're a business-friendly bank. I'm thinking, just
I think there are opportunities to align with banks. I don't consider them a competitor, because they're not able to do this. They're not able to engage in these kind of conversations. So I'm really competing against other coaches, and it's even those that go to. I love masterminding. I mean, I'm a big believer in mastermind groups, and I started one at a bank I work for. I think they've had about 12 or 13,000 people go through it now. It's still going. So I love that.
Yeah.
But I know people that do masterminds. It's $500 for 6 weeks a month, and even that can be daunting for people. I'm mainly competing against the coach that is charging somebody way more than they can afford to be guided. I mean, I think that's
okay. I'm buying that. Okay, so but at $24.95, which is, I don't know, something like £17 per month, did you say? And you were offering a sort of 40-point current reduction.
Right.
On that. But even at that
7-day free trial. Right.
Okay, but basically that takes you down to what? Kevin's better at me, but call it 10 quid, £10. So
Yeah.
£10 a month to get access to. I mean, you can't buy a prawn cocktail for that. So the truth is, you're actually getting them access to, or it's maybe 2 coffees, give or take. So it's really quite a brilliant price to access all that sort of material in hopefully an accessible way.
Yeah, I love the idea of it just being in your hip pocket. And we've talked about a lot of strategic things, but there are times in a business where you're up against it and you need somebody to talk to. And it might be one employee, it might be a supplier, it might be a pricing question. And that's what I love about it, is it's as good on planning as it is in the heat of the moment of, I don't know what I'm going to do with this person, or Fred just left and I need to replace him and I don't know where to start. He's been such a great employee and he decided to retire. I wasn't expecting this. What do I do now?
Yeah.
I mean, it's right there. And if you can take 30 minutes to an hour, basically what it's designed to do is define the problem. This is what the agent is really good at, I think, is the clarifying question of, where are we? But always to provide, ask what they're thinking about, to provide other ideas that are in the big business idea universe, and then start talking about what can we do next? I mean, what's the next thing to do? Yeah. And that to me is coaching. It's like that is momentum. I mean, it's a step forward. It's going from potential energy to kinetic energy. You're caught in a moment where you're completely internalizing a problem to
Yeah.
move from that energy level to one that's moving down a path that is defined is a gift. That's how I look at it.
Do you find the people buying into the program here? Let's call it a program. I don't know if you do, but if other people buying in, are they kind of like solopreneurs, or are they more likely to have a relatively small team? I mean, maybe 1 to 10
Yeah,
people.
I think the people that are in there are probably fewer than 10 employees.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I think it applies really well to people thinking about starting. That's
Mm.
not why I wrote the book originally. I just felt like there are a lot of startup resources out there that
Yeah.
through nonprofits and different things. There are ways to figure out how to get started, but it
Mm.
was more for the person that had started, realized they had something that was viable, and the rest of it had never occurred to them. Like, how am I going to manage all this going forward? It's just like, give me a roadmap out of the chaos.
No,
But I
it's
think it would
exactly.
work. It would work for anybody because
Yeah.
there's a good. One thing we didn't talk about is in 2011, I'd been a huge John Maxwell fan for probably 5 or 6 years, and John started up his international team of coaches and speakers, and I was just
Mhm.
like, I enjoy sharing this, and I'm going to join. And so it's got a lot of leadership principles infused in it too, from the book and other resources that I have. So I mean, it's just I think it's a really nicely tightly wound set of ideas for people that are entrepreneurs.
Mm.
I don't reference the Harvard Business Review.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean,
No.
I respect it, and
Yeah.
but it's kind of like um, I don't know. It's like I had this experience recently, and you may disagree with this, but I have this thing that I love in my leadership development. I have a uh, John's got a book called Becoming a Person of Influence, and there's 10 influencing principles that you're supposed to become good at to be a great leader.
Mm.
And I decided that a good way to do this, because it's so behavioral and what you do every day, it's not conceptual, it's behavioral. I adopted the Ben Franklin virtue system. It's like he had 13 things he wanted to become, and
Mm.
he started practicing them every day. So that's kind of what I instilled. And then I was at a function, and somebody was presenting or talking about atomic habits, and I'm just like, that sounds awfully familiar.
Mhm.
And it's basically the same idea. It's a what I've found is like perspective and the way you present something is so important. There's so many different ways to come at something, and I think what I love about the book is it's distilled it down to something that's completely universal in momentum. It affects it, we see it affects everything, and I think it works.
It,
It's easy to understand, and as you read the book, you can think about probably 5 different business books you've read that are on that topic, but all of a sudden it's in a different, tightly wound context.
yeah. You mentioned Forbes earlier, and it wasn't too long ago that we had Adam Whitty, who you may know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, Adam's a great guy. He came
and
to my book launch. Yeah,
well, he's from memory, I think is it Charlotte that he's in? I think I'm not sure.
Charleston.
Charleston.
Yeah.
Okay. And but it is fascinating because Dan Kennedy used to think of him as his son. It's not. That was his what Kennedy used to say about him. But bright lad, love the conversation we had with Adam. And but I do know that Adam helps authors. Was that where you eventually took your book to, or did you do it through a
Yes.
different route? You did.
Yes.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I this thing has been going on for a while. I mean, I probably started trying to convey the idea of Bizzics
Mm.
6 years ago, and I found even then that there was a scalability issue. I couldn't have enough coffees to get a funnel that was big enough to support me. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
and so I started having the idea. I was blogging regularly at the time, and I thought this could be a book. And then as our brains do, I shut it down. I was like, anything about writing a book? How to sell a book? Anything about it? And then I started getting pinged by Adam, and I was just like, I bet Forbes could help me do this. And so that's what I did. I went to them, and
Smart
it was
move.
a great experience. They're a great company. I have a
Yeah.
lot of respect for Adam and the
Mm.
people there. first rate. Every phase of it, I felt like I was so well supported.
It's so nice when the people that we know in our network, in some way, come together. There's some absolutely fascinating guests over the years, and then there's you. But no, I mean, there's no, seriously, no.
How to make friends and influence people, Graham.
No, that's probably what
you got. One guy in a party town, a lot of brilliant people, and
but seriously, no, seriously, you. Why I like what you're doing is that you're taking. I've always felt that very the 1 to 10 business market. It's almost like the untouchables. When it comes to coaching, they're like a different caste. My colleagues are South Indian Muslim, and she basically they have a caste thing. I hate that, and I just but it's how other cultures live and work. And and I genuinely think that the small business, as I say, the banks might say, look, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. And the person that they might field won't be you. It won't be a Chip Higgins.
Right.
It'll be I don't know,
a young Chip Higgins.
Yeah, well, yeah, a very young, and probably empty suit. But the truth is, my concern is that how do you get quality advice right where it needs to be at a time when somebody wants it and is prepared to actually accept it,
right.
At a price that, as I've said, is not going to kill them.
Right.
And if they want it for free, go and see the empty suit at the business banking team. Forgive me,
you're missing something there. Certainly in the UK, I don't know
go on then.
The US, but banks don't want to know about small business.
No.
I think back, 15 years ago when my wife started a small business, we were talking to the business banking team at Lloyd's Bank, and there were business advisors around. Those people just do not exist anymore. Nobody wants to loan money to small business.
Yeah, that's. I have 2 chapters at the end of the book. Once I get through the totality of the momentum equation, I have a chapter on friction and a chapter on leverage. And the friction chapter talks about how good friction is really important. We've got to stick to the plan and stick to our goals. But with friction, things can set on fire, if you're not careful with it. And so it's mostly about margins and liquidity, which is really, super important in business. And then the leverage chapter is, it's about having a lever and, how to take something and move faster than you could otherwise. And so it's about competencies at some level, capabilities that you have, but it really ends up being a discussion about debt. And, what's happened in the debt scene for small business is just disappointing to me. Of all things, I think the Small Business Administration programs in the U.S. are good. They're cumbersome at times, but it has the right attitude of long-term commitment, no calls, no balloons. But to talk a little further about the void that you're talking about, Kevin, like the online lending market is treacherous. It's like scoring and data models, have improved accessibility to something that is terribly onerous once you get it. It's kind of like, what did I just do? And, and you realize like all money is not the same. I say in the book, money assumes the attitudes of its owner. Otherwise it's completely vanilla. It's got no character whatsoever, but it depends on whose pocket it's in and what their intentions are. And, capital is necessary. And this is a big mistake that people make. It's like, you can't borrow $50,000 and pay it back in 1 year. I mean, I just don't know a startup company that has margins that would enable them to do that. And that is effectively the terms that they put people on. So, it's a disappointment to me. I'm not, I probably sound critical of my colleagues, but I've been championing small business for a long time, and the continued lack of resources in the banking industry for it. I mean, I really hope one day somehow people wake up and realize, like, you can't have 80% margins in every product that you have. And this is an important one to invest in, even though it might not be the one where you're, just making a ton of money. It's just important for our society and for entrepreneurship. I mean, that's what I love about small businesses, ideas coming to fruition, and people have the courage to give it a shot and see if they can make a difference in the world. And there's something about our society that benefits from that, I think.
I think America is a beacon of entrepreneurialism. But I mean, then again, you look around the world and there's a shed load of entrepreneurs and budding entrepreneurs. And the nice thing is that you've kind of let back over the fence to those people who are hesitating,
Yeah.
not quite knowing what to do. And I don't think, there's a lot of advice, I'm sure, if they went out and looked for it, but it's just a question of having a reliable source of advice at the time that you want it, in the place
Right.
that you want it. And I think what you're doing, there are some mechanisms that maybe another time we can talk about, but basically may even extend what you're doing. But for me, what you're doing is really important. Kevin and I are both passionate about helping. That's why we have in part, that's why we're having a podcast to bring people in. And we've had all kinds of small business people in here. It's not just about small business, but it's how they can lift themselves up, and some of the things that they're going to face on their own and so forth.
Yeah.
But you'll probably cover that. But because you're an authority, and I know Adam's big on authority, so basically because you're an authority, it's going to help people accept your word.
Yeah.
So, plus you wear nice suits. I don't know.
Chip,
I've seen the pictures on your website.
Before we leave,
it's my banker costume I sent over to you. Yeah.
Nice suit.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah.
Kevin, sorry, go on.
Those pictures on your website, Chip, I'm seeing a lot of imagery that surprises me for American business. A guy based in Nashville. I'm looking at your services page and I'm seeing a train there.
Yeah, train is my symbol.
It's a British train crossing Glenfinnan Viaduct in Scotland. What's that doing on a website from a business in Tennessee?
I just I love the image of a train for momentum. When I give my keynote talk, the way I grab people's attention about momentum is I used to bank a short line railroad here. There's a guy that had a railroad that was about 90 miles, and it was a lot of industrial. It was an industrial part of southern middle Tennessee, and his dream was always, we had the Tennessee Valley Authority, which is a big coal user, and so his dream was somehow that he was going to get a unit train of coal. If he could get a unit train of coal, his margins would go through the roof. Like it was a big sale. So we just started talking about trains, and of course I understood how powerful they were with all the safety things that he was doing. But he told me that I wish I could remember the statistics now, but if you take I'll leave the numbers out of it and leave you with the punchline. Mm-hmm. If you had a unit train of coal moving at 30 miles an hour, it would take approximately 2 miles to stop the train.
Mm.
And that, to me, I mean, that's momentum. It's like it's the mass of momentum. It's the velocity of the momentum. You can't get off if you get off the track, you're pretty much dead. So it's an image that I latched onto for momentum. I think it's the perfect image for momentum.
Right. I love the shot that I'm looking at the same page now, Kevin, but I got a feeling that I don't know whether that's in the Dales, but I don't know if it is.
No, that picture's iconic, Graham. It's Glenfinnan Viaduct.
Oh, right, okay, fine. Well,
I've learned something new today, so I'm glad to make this connection.
I
The artwork.
definitely, Kevin's hobby is train. So basically, whereabouts is that in England?
It's Scotland.
Scotland.
It's the line that goes from Glasgow to Fort William. It's
Okay. Oh, okay.
no,
All
it's
right.
beyond that. It's the Fort William to Mallaig extension is the Glenfinnan.
Gosh.
And the Glenfinnan is a famous place. If you took if the photographer on that shot turned through 180 degrees and took the photo the other way, there's a monument. The
Ah.
Glenfinnan Monument is the statue to a Bonnie Prince Charlie in
Well,
Scotland.
I know Fort
A young
William from
pretender.
Outland.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a very famous
That's
place.
how I've learned about Scotland was through the Outlander show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, very impressed, Kevin, with your knowledge but, what can I say? It's added immeasurably to. But actually, it is a good photo. I once, I did take I should share it with you, Kevin. I took a photo of a train going over the Ribblehead viaduct in the Dales, and you can imagine these big viaduct,
Mm.
and it was steaming like this. But I managed. I'm not sure it's Penny getting in behind, but the point is, there's a wonderful hill behind, and I put it on. I Pixabay or something, whatever, and it got a number of very warm. I think a lot of people used it, but it makes me feel good because it was a really good photo. But
Yeah.
it's
And
about the
there's
only.
another interesting fact about that viaduct, Graham. It was a particular construction project that really made a company that became very big subsequently, McAlpine.
Oh, really? Oh, right. Okay.
And that viaduct, unlike the Ribblehead one, that viaduct's solid concrete, Glenfinnan.
Yeah.
And the guy that designed it became known as Concrete Bob
Well,
of McAlpine.
yeah, I've got to say it just it doesn't look as nice as the Ribblehead, but then again, the Ribblehead's in Yorkshire, God's County. So, but I'm a half Scot, so I get to like this one as well. And we used to holiday up that area, so lovely. Look, we're going off on a tangent here, Chip. You've been an absolutely wonderful guest on the Next 100 Days podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I've enjoyed every minute of it. You guys are great. And thank you for giving me a boost today. I feel like I got something. So that makes me feel good.
No, Graham, what a great conversation. I love that equation of
Yeah.
mass times velocity.
Yeah. Well, you would. You're the accountant, and you'll probably see some financial. Actually, it won't be long before you put that into one of your training sessions for Grow CFO. I can just see it coming.
Yeah. To me, what sold it was just the images of trains all over his website.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I've got to say, I'm impressed by your knowledge of of these trains, but it doesn't surprise me. It's just that I was looking at this, I'm thinking, I don't think it's the Dales, but I'm so glad that you corrected us. But Chip's really his folk, even though his MBA is all that experience with small businesses, good, bad, all that kind of stuff. He's learned so much. He's now trying to apply the principles to those, as I described them, untouchables. They're not really untouchables, but they just don't get the kind of support. And maybe they don't look for it either because it's about money. It's money going out and so forth. And yeah, I've got my own ideas about what I should do. I'm an entrepreneur after all. Getting somebody on your shoulder helping you, a mentor of some sort, in some kind of way, has got to be a good thing until such time as you can afford somebody on a one-to-one basis. And not too long ago, we spoke to another coach who, you know, was a very expensive coach. You had to hire her for pretty much all year, and she was only helping a few people in that sense because she can manage. This, on the other hand, that potentially could spiral out to millions of businesses and really
Absolutely.
can help them.
That's an interesting dilemma if you're in the coaching business. Do
Mm,
you want to help a handful of people, or do
mm.
you want to help multiple people? Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so often you hear of a mission, I want to help 1 million people or something like that. Very, very difficult to do. And I love the way Chip's starting to use AI to try and do that.
He's not going to be successful without it. I mean, it's especially now.
Yeah.
It's not going to uninvent itself. And I think it'll only get better. And maybe he'll have a small part to play in how small businesses get better at their craft. Doesn't mean to say their idea is brilliant.
But
Might be pants, but hey.
when we spoke to Katrina last episode,
Mm,
where she is only taking 10 or 20 coaching clients a year,
mhm,
and it's a very deep relationship. That's flipping in the other side of this AI equation at the moment, where
mhm.
you know what becomes a very valuable commodity in an AI world is the human, where you put so much of yourself into it, but it's not a scalable model.
No. Oh, well, I've learned so much from the last couple of episodes of the next 100 days, and well, we're getting closer and closer, Kevin, to the 500th episode. So, if you're listening to us and you've enjoyed the podcast, then stay tuned because we've got a few, well, really interesting ones coming up, and that you're going to like. And well, today I've been Graham Arrowsmith.
I've been Kevin Appleby. Goodbye.
Goodbye.